Welcome back to the Space School webinar series, Maximize Your Walk-in Cooler, Take 2. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier. Today we're going to be focusing on ways to avoid pitfalls when you're laying out your walk-in cooler. Today you'll be hearing from me, Nancy Ferret, the Queen of the Cooler, and Rob Calu-Savage, our shelf doctor. AJ Zambetti also reached out to a special guest, John Egner, to weigh in on the topic, who is just generally an awesome dude and a strong Metro supporter and food service consultant. So I'm going to let John kick it off, and then once John is done, our shelf doctor, Rob Calu-Savage, will pick it up from there.
Welcome everybody to the Walk-In Masters class. Today our webinar is featuring John Egner. He is the owner of JME Hospitality, and he's been doing this since the 1980s. He's been an industry leader in full service design consulting, covering the hospital, healthcare institutions, hotels, resorts, casinos, colleges and universities, K through 12 schools, and more. So he's got enough experience in kitchen design and consulting to put some light and shed some light on some of the topics we're covering today, which is walk-in coolers and freezers. Welcome, John.
Nice to be here.
I wanted to start with what are some of the main issues you factor in when you're specifying a cooler?
The main factors are, obviously, it has to be a quality product. It really is not so much about the end result, it's about getting to the end result. It's about understanding what the operation is going to be. A lot of times people will walk in and just throw a square box on the plan and call it a walk-in and be done with it. And it's really not serving the purpose of understanding the full use and need of the walk-in and how it's going to be utilized. Is it a restaurant? Is it a commissary? Is it a full service operation, quick service operation? Is it part of a complex of a larger situation? Is it strictly just a small garbage box? So once you understand what the parameters are, then you can sort of back into what you think the needs are for that walk-in box and understanding the size. And part of all that is it's just not saying, hey, I'm going to get deliveries once every 3 days. It's understanding if you can afford to get deliveries once every 3 days, or does it have to be once a week? To me, understanding the financials of a planning of a project is important because that leads you backwards to the number of covers that goes to the amount of food you need, and then the amount of food you need goes into the amount of storage you need.
As John said, the parameters are important when determining the amount of usable space. So whether or not you have a smaller restaurant, which requires a smaller size walk-in, or a larger facility that may give you the opportunity to put in some high density track shelving on the side, that's only part of the equation. Now, sizing your storage space, once you determine the square feet of usable storage area, you need to cover the amount of either dine-in or takeaway services that you're going to provide. You have to think about what you're going to do within that space. You know, at its most basic level, on a small walk-in, you have opportunities to give the operator some space back by eliminating dead corners, add S-hooks, and maximizing the limited space that they might have in their walk-in. If they're fortunate enough to be a larger operation, then you could consider laying out the walk-in space with track shelving on one side. Perhaps that's for some of the less accessed items, and you leave the opposite side available for high traffic, high access, prepped foods that they may come in and grab on a more regular basis. So in the end, you're trying to optimize the space as well as the flow. But general layout is only a starting point. I mean, the important thing here is what type of storage should be put into the space to improve workflow. Let's hear from John.
When you're designing and developing the walk-in, what are some of the things from a storage or productivity perspective are must-haves?
Well, it's funny. I can think back 30 years ago. We always made sure there were just shelves. We didn't think about a lot about, well, what about the shelves, or what are they doing? And over time, we've realized that the inside of a walk-in is a lot more organized if you can create different spaces within the walk-in that are controlled by different types of shelving. For example, you might have one shelf that's only 4-tier that allows for boxed goods. And then you might have another shelf that might have 6 tiers or 7 tiers in it that allows for Lexan containers or other containers to be slid in, or even hotel pans on hotel pan slides or sheet pan slides, so that if you are working in the same box with prepped and raw food, you can take a, if you're out front and you break down a bunch of chickens and you get them on a sheet pan and they're going to go into the oven, but you won't want to put them in yet, you bring it back in, you slide them into a sheet pan rack that's built into the shelving. So we've started to actually organize our walk-in boxes now based on how it's being prepared in the kitchen and how that relates to the use of the box.
Now, if you have something with high volume delivery, what are some of the pitfalls that you look to avoid?
Well, the biggest pitfall is that you think you have enough storage for all your product, and you may have. But problem is that the product, as it comes out of the walk-in, has to get prepped, and then it has to go back into some type of refrigeration. And most people don't think of it going back into the refrigerator, or at least compartmentalizing that refrigerator to create, or that walk-in to create separate components for what I would call your raw produce or your prep product, and then your finished product, or creating a second walk-in, a smaller walk-in just for finished products.
So as John is alluding to here, a simple walk-in approach with shelving everywhere is not necessarily the right solution. You got to think about where your bulk and where your prepped items are. For instance, in a small walk-in, in high access areas, you may have a large stack of bulk items, and you may have some already prepared items on trays and on tray racks on the other side. You got to think about how you're going to arrange the shelving and the space in that limited area to make sure that the workflow is the best it can be. So again, just think about these different options. You're going anywhere from a dunnage rack all the way through a shelving unit that may have 7+ shelves, or another format. So plan for the delivery. Use a dunnage rack to create a delivery zone, because deliveries are often chaos, and it's often drop and put it away when you have time. You can look at it as a landing spot for high volume food items, where it's the same item that might stack from the floor to the ceiling, or it's the extra space to manage overflow from the delivery. And it doesn't have to be a dunnage rack by itself. It could be something that's underneath the longer shelving unit to give you that drop spot for some of these larger items. And then as you're thinking about these shelves that are, the shelving units with 6 or 7 tiers, you want to optimize it for food safety, especially in prep conditions, because you may have some foods that are prepped raw and you may have some foods that are prepped, par cooked, etc. So utilize the hierarchy of foods, safe food sorting within the walk-in, color shelf markers, and consider other things such as solid bottom shelves to enhance the cleanliness of the product, because it will block splashes from mopping that goes around there. But in the end, think about your prepped versus your finished product and how that's going to affect the space.
Obviously, you've specified a lot of Metro in the past. What is your favorite thing that you specify in your walk-ins that you think is, is special and adds value, and why?
I mean, I prefer in walk-ins to have plastic shelving and have it have the grids, the mats removable so they can be washed. I mean, I think that's great to keep your walk-in clean and organized, and it gives you the ability, especially with adjustable shelves, to raise and lower them. I do like to put all of my shelving in walk-ins on casters whenever possible, because I like to be able to roll it out clean and roll it back in. One thing I think that is a great product that people don't think about using maybe more and tying into the walk-in type situation is, I'm a big fan of PrepMate, and I've actually counseled clients and looked at that and said, why don't, instead of being out here in the kitchen, in the prep area, why not take your PrepMate, roll it into your walk-in, and do your cold work in there. Like if you got to break down steaks or you got to break down chicken, and you're doing it right in the refrigerator. Yes, it's cold. The person has to wear a jacket, but he's in there 30 minutes. He breaks and shingles out a bunch of chickens or steaks or whatever and racks them up. And they didn't come out, so they didn't sit in room temperature for a while. And they didn't get out of temperature, and you're doing that much more to try and maintain the chain of temperature through the product until cooking time.
So let's unpack some of those ideas that John was talking about. Certainly plastic shelving is going to give you that impact resistant surface. Here you see some Metro Max I handling some very high end, very high value proteins. He talks about using plastic mat shelving for its cleanliness. In terms of optimization, don't forget that you're going to optimize the staff, because plastic mat shelving reduces the time spent on cleaning due to the lift-off shelf mats. And you also have the built-in microban to keep the product cleaner. So again, you're adding to the cleanliness of the walk-in. Other products that we offer, such as Max Q, give you that adjustment. So if you need to take a unit from a 4 tier to a 6 or 7 tier to change its purpose, you have that ability. And let's keep in mind that, you know, we have a full service offering here. The key lines for the walk-in are Super Recta Pro, Max Q, Max 4, all wobble free, worry free, all easy to clean. And you have the flexibility to go stationary, to put it on wheels, to put it in track shelving, as John was talking about. And even within mobility, you want to make sure that you can get your cart in and out of the walk-in, because you've got to clear the door heights. So we give you a couple of different options. With a common 63-inch post and with the 70-inch post, you're going to have 2 options to have a cart that's short enough to easily move in and out of the walk-in space. And we have some models set up for that already pre-configured. John also mentioned the food safety aspect, controlling the temperature during the food chain. The nice thing about PrepMate is that it's portable. It takes the productivity where you need it. So you could have it tucked underneath a storage shelf or a work surface outside the walk-in, and it could be easily rolled into the walk-in when needed to break down the product and maintain good temperature. And also from a food safety standpoint, keep in mind that any thawing or slacking, that should be done under refrigeration, and that's going to affect how you configure your shelving.
Do you have any what we call tricks of the trade that you're willing to share with us? Some of the things that you may do that you think is real special that nobody else does?
The only trick I would say, it's not really a trick, is understand the workflow in the kitchen and try to utilize that to make your operation better and function more by how you address your access in and out of your walk-ins. That's all.
So John, you know, a lot of times he's talking about really the workflow equation here. It's about usable space, what is stored, and where. So you got to ask these questions as you're figuring out where to put stuff. Is the walk-in the only refrigerated space, or is there a reach-in nearby near the line? How much space is needed for prepped versus raw? And where's the best place to store the high volume items? Because that's going to impact specifically where you have your 7-tier units versus your bulk storage. In the example you see on screen, this operator needed to have access to dough and have it easily move in and out of the walk-in for service. So it utilizes that roll under technique to give you that specialized storage in and around the other walk-in storage. So think about what needs to move in and out as you make your plans in the walk-ins.
What are some things you do to optimize the storage once all the shelving or all the solutions are in there? Could you tell me about accessorizing and you know, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think I mentioned a little earlier when I plan space in walk-ins now, accessorizing would be we look for sheet pan slides that we can put into the shelving racks that are removable. We also look at the universal ones that can do sheet pans or hotel pans, or a combination of hotel pan racks and sheet pan racks, because it's sometimes better to have specific use racks as opposed to a universal type rack. It just gives you more control over the product. And so we accessorize those in a lot. We put in, we'll put in dunnage. We put a lot of side panels and back, you know, the cage around the racks and sides to prevent product from falling up or getting pushed up against the wall. So we've tried to sort of contain everything. We've taken some where customers are using maybe a 3/4 height sheet pan rack, and we'll roll those into the box, and we'll have actually a parking space for those built into the shelving area. So we'll take a set of shelving, and we might not start the first shelf until 58 inches, and we'll put, you know, a wire frame on the bottom, and we'll design it so we can take 2 or 3 sheet pan racks and slide them in.
So, you know, within that context, John hits on a lot of points. It's about taking basic storage that might be a 4-tier unit and transforming it into something more useful. So in this example from the Kitchen Storage Makeover 2020, you're seeing a situation where it was all 4-tier shelving transformed into 3 to 4 tier shelves in a docking station format where there was roll under dough carts, and those dough carts would move easily in and out of the walk-in for service. It helped the operator rotate. It helped the operator move things more effectively without waste, without spillage. And again, it was just knowing what the operation had to have within arm's reach very easily to make it more efficiently. And that's something you can do with standard shelves and accessories. Here's an example from the Kitchen Storage Makeover 2019. In this example, it was all about the sort. So taking traditional shelving, using dividers and other types of enclosing accessories to create places where everything needs to go. Because part of cleanliness is not just, what's off the floor. It's not just a removable mat. It's about sorting and organizing the contents of your shelf so that they are not overlapping and spilling all over each other. And that is an important factor as well. I think there are a lot of good ideas here that John had reviewed, and you can find throughout many of our webinars. The next webinar on November 19th is going to be Pizza QSR Solutions. So we hope that you tune in for that one. And you're going to see there's a registration link at the bottom that you can sign up for and pass along to some of your dealers. If there are questions, in that this is not a live event, you can certainly contact me directly, or you can email Nancy Farah, and we'll be happy to respond to you with some more information. We do appreciate all your time today, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.